Alright, if you remember where we left off at in scene 2, the Juliet had just said that she was going to, since she didn't even have a chance to be a wife, and so she was going to kill herself. But the nurse says, no, I'm going to go get him. I'll find him, then I'll bring him here. And she knows where he went. He went to Friar Lawrence's cell. So scene 3 then brings us to Friar Lawrence's cell, where Friar Lawrence and Romeo will talk about their banishment. And Romeo doesn't know exactly what his punishment is, but Friar Lawrence will share that with him, and Romeo will obviously be in despair. So, and then he'll learn from the nurse that Juliet is also in despair, and Romeo will have a very similar reaction to Juliet, which will also foreshadow later.
Romeo, come forth, thou fearful man. Affliction is enamoured of thy parts, and thou art wedded to calamity.
Father, what news?
His trouble follows him everywhere.
What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand that I yet know not?
Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company.
So he wants to know, what is the prince's doom? What's his sentence for what he did?
I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom.
What less than doomsday is the prince's doom?
A gentler judgment vanished from his lips. Not body's death, but body's banishment.
So he doesn't want you dead, but banished.
Banishment. Be merciful. Say death, for exile hath more terror in his look, much more than death. Do not say banishment.
Hence from Verona art thou banished. Be patient, for the world is broad and wide.
Alright, we see another message here from Friar Lawrence that says, be patient. Romeo cannot handle. He says death would actually be more merciful than to be banished. And but Friar Lawrence says, you know what? It's not the end of the world. Be patient. The world is broad and wide, much like advice you might give to somebody who has just heard devastating news. It's not the end of the world.
There is no world without Verona walls, but purgatory, yes, torture, hell itself. Hence banished is banished from the world, and world's exile is death. Then banished is death, mistermed, calling death banished. Thou cutt'st my head off with a golden axe, and smilest upon the stroke that murders me!
Alright, so he's saying that it is bad. And in true Romeo overdramatic fashion, basically says it's death.
Oh, deadly sin! A rude unthankfulness! Thy fault our law calls death. But the kind prince, taking thy part, hath rushed aside the law and turned that black word death to banishment. This is dear mercy, and thou seest it not.
So Friar Lawrence is now upset with Romeo because he doesn't see the fact that he has been shown mercy, instead of being, because the law would tell him that he has to be killed.
'Tis torture and not mercy! Heaven is here where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing live here in heaven and may look on her, but Romeo may not. More validity, more honourable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. They may seize on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand, and steal immortal blessing from her lips, who even in pure and vestal modesty still blushes, thinking their own kiss is sin, but Romeo may not. He is banished. Flies may do this, but I from this must fly. They are free men, but I am banished. And say'st thou yet that exile is not death? Hadst thou no poison mix, no sharp ground knife, no sudden mean of death, though ne'er so mean, but banished to kill me, banished? Oh, friar, the damned use that word in hell, howling attends it. How hast thou the heart, being a divine, a ghostly confessor, a sin absolver, and my friend professed to mangle me with that word, banished?
Thou fond madman, hear me a little speech.
Oh, that
So basically he says, hear me actually say something. Because Romeo is now, as we know, he tends to overreact. And he says basically, to be away from Juliet is death. So where everybody else can see her, I cannot, but Romeo may not. He is banished. And he repeats banished repeatedly throughout. So when he says the word actually mangles him.
I will speak again of banishment.
I'll give thee armour to keep off that word. Adversity's sweet milk, philosophy, to comfort thee, though thou art banished.
Yet banished? Hang up philosophy! Unless philosophy can make a Juliet, displant a town, reverse a prince's doom, it helps not, it prevails not, talk no more.
So basically, the friar, who's been pretty logical and giving good advice to this point that Romeo hasn't necessarily taken, says, you know, let's he says, I'll give thee armor to make it seem less harsh, and let's talk about it. Philosophy, he says, to comfort thee. And but Romeo says, no, I don't want to listen to your philosophy, to your life lessons. He says, talk no more.
Oh, then I see that madmen have no ears.
How should they when the wise men have no eyes?
Let me dispute with thee of thy estate.
Thou canst not speak of that thou dost not feel.
And again, Romeo has said this already. He said this about Mercutio, about when teasing him. You don't know how I feel. And he says it here with the friar.
Wert thou as young as I, Juliet thy love, an hour but married, Tybalt murdered, doting like me and like me banished, then mightst thou speak. Then mightst thou tear thy hair and fall upon the ground as I do now, taking the measure of an unmade grave.
Arise, one knocks. Good Romeo, hide thyself.
Unless the breath of heartsick groans mist-like enfold me from the search of eyes.
So Romeo's supposed to take out. So
How
this is
they knock.
anybody
Who's there?
else other than the nurse. It could be
Romeo,
Dad.
arise, thou wilt be taken. Stay a while. Stand up. Run to my study. By and by. Oh, God's will. What simpleness is this? I come. Who knocks so hard? Whence come you? What's your will?
Let me come in and you shall know my errand. I come from Lady Juliet.
Welcome, then.
Oh, Holy Friar. Oh, tell me, Holy Friar, where's my lady's lord? Where's Romeo?
There on the ground, with his own tears made drunk.
Oh, he is even in my mistress' case. Just in her case.
He is just as
Oh,
sad as
woeful
Juliet.
sympathy, piteous predicament. Even so lies she, blubbering and weeping, weeping and blubbering. Stand up. Stand up. Stand, and you'll be a man. For Juliet's sake, for her sake, rise and stand. Why should you fall into so deep an hole? Oh, sir, death's the end of all.
So again, she says it's not the end of the world.
Speak'st thou of Juliet? How is't with her? Does she not think me an old murderer, now I have stained the childhood of our joy with blood removed but little from her own? Where is she, and how doth she? And what says my concealed lady to our cancelled love?
Oh, she says nothing, sir, but weeps and weeps, and now falls on her bed, and then starts up, and Tybalt calls, and then on Romeo cries, and then down falls again.
As if that name, shot from the deadly level of a gun, did murder her as that name's cursed hand murdered her kinsman. Oh, tell me, friar, tell me, in what vile part of this anatomy doth my name lodge? Tell me, that I may sack the hateful mansion.
So here Romeo, hearing upon the fact that Juliet is crying his name, crying about her cousin who Romeo killed, he says, he takes out his sword. He says it's just as bad as if he was shot. It's just as bad to hear that she is crying over him and what he did in crying his name. So he wants to know where his name is lodged in his body so that he can cut it out. He's going to kill himself. So Friar Lawrence, just as though Juliet was going to kill herself, and the nurse stopped her, Friar Lawrence is going to stop Romeo.
Hold thy desperate hand! Art thou a man?
This is you not acting like a
Thy
man.
form cries out thou art. Thy tears are womanish. Thy wild acts denote the unreasonable fury of a beast. Unseemly woman in a seeming man, an ill-beseeming beast in seeming both. Thou hast amazed me. By my holy order, I thought thy disposition better tempered. Hast thou slain Tybalt? Wilt thou slay thyself and slay thy lady that in thy life lives, by doing damned hate upon thyself? Why railest thou on thy birth, the heaven and earth? Since birth and heaven and earth, all three do meet in thee at once, which thou at once wouldst lose. Fie, thou shamest thy shape, thy love, thy wit, which like a usurer bounced in all, and usest none in that true use indeed, which should bedeck thy shape, thy love, thy wit. Thy noble shape is but a form of wax, digressing from the valour of a man. Thy dear love sworn, but hollow perjury, killing that love which thou hast vowed to cherish. Thy wit, that ornament to shape and love, misshapen in the conduct of them both, like powder in a skilless soldier's flask, is set afire by thine own ignorance, and thou dismembered with thine own defence. What rouse thee, man?
So he basically went on to talk about how pointless it would be to kill himself, to kill everything that he loves.
Thy Juliet is
And I was
alive,
going to tell him to be happy.
for
with
whose
things.
dear sake thou wast but lately dead. There art thou happy. Tybalt will kill thee, but thou threwest Tybalt. There art thou happy too. The law that threatened death becomes thy friend and turns it to exile. There art thou happy.
So several
A
reasons for
pack
him
of
to actually
blessings
be
light
happy.
upon thy back. Happiness courts thee in her best array, but like a misbehaved and sullen wench, thou pouts upon thy fortune and thy love.
So he's saying it could be worse, but yet you still are pouting.
Take heed, for such die miserable. Go, get thee to thy love, as was decreed. Ascend her chamber, hence, and comfort her. But look thou stay not till the watch be set, for then thou canst not pass to Mantua, where thou shalt live till we can find a time to blaze your marriage, reconcile your friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back with 200,000 times more joy than thou wentst forth in lamentation. Go before, nurse, commend me to thy lady, and bid her hasten all the house to bed, which heavy sorrow makes them apt unto. Romeo is come.
So he has a plan now. He says sneak into her room and spend the night with her. But then before the watch guards get to the gate, you have to get going to Mantua, and that's where you'll stay. But he says we got a little bit of a plan here. We're going to announce the marriage, calm everybody down, and then beg pardon from the prince, and then we can call him back, and people might actually be happy because they are wed. So he's got a little bit of a plan. But the thing with Romeo is this plan takes time, and Romeo, as we have seen, does not like to wait.
Oh, Lord, I could have stayed here all the night to hear good counsel. Oh, what learning is. My lord, I'll tell my lady you will come.
Do so, and bid my sweet prepare to chide.
Here is a ring she bid me give you, sir. You make haste, for it grows very late.
So there's the ring that Juliet
Well,
gave
my
her.
comfort is revived by this.
In the ring,
Go
Romeo
hence,
is
good night,
revived.
and here stands all your state. Either be gone before the watch be set, or by the break of day, disguised from hence. Sojourn in Mantua. I'll find out your man, and he shall signify from time to time every good hap to you that chances here. Give me thy hand. 'Tis late. Farewell. Good night.
but that a
So again, the friar tells him, you know, either you got to be out of there before the guards hit the gate, or you got to be disguised so that you can get out of here.
joy past joy calls out on me. It were a grief so brief to part with thee. Farewell.
So he's happy that he's able to go see Juliet, but it's going to be sad to say goodbye, as we know, because they could barely say goodbye when they were talking from the balcony. So now, for class time, you need to look at, we've talked a little bit about dramatic irony and how dramatic irony is seen throughout the play, but there's several examples of dramatic irony in this scene. So you're going to find examples of dramatic irony, explain why it fits as dramatic irony, and explain the line from the text to support. So the audience knows things that the characters do not, and that's what you're going to look at here between this conversation between Romeo the nurse and Friar Lawrence. So you want two examples, explain why it's dramatic irony, and give me a line from the text that shows that. And bring that on a separate sheet of paper to class.